Okay, good day to everyone. Today we are going to tackle some of the chapter of Franz Fanon's work, which is entitled Black Skin, White Mask. Next slide, please. This presentation contains the following. First is about Franz Fanon. Second is about his book Black Skin, White Mask, and the three following chapter, which is the chapter 4, the so-called dependency complex of colonized people, the chapter 5, the fact of blackness, the chapter 6, the Negro and psychopathology, and the conclusion. Next, please. So let us know who is Franz Fanon first. He is a Francophone Afro-Caribbean psychiatrist, political philosopher, and a Marxist as well from the French colony of Martinique. He is one of the most important writers in Black Atlantic theory in the age of anti-colonial liberation struggle, and his written works have become central texts in Africana thought, in large part because of their attention to the role hybridity, the creolization can play in forming humanist, anti-colonial cultures. Next, please. So, this book, Black Skin, White Mask, is what we are going to tackle. It was first published in 1952, and it is Fanon's major work on blackness. It also offers a potent philosophical, clinical, literary rather, and political analysis of the deep effect of racism and colonialism on the experience, lives, minds, and relationship of Black people and people of color. Basic structure of his anti and decolonial work initially and empathetically in the term of describing the effect of anti-black racism. Next slide, please. Now we're going to tackle the chapter 4, the so-called dependency complex of colonized people.
So let us now proceed to the chapter 4, the so-called dependency complex of colonized people. Nung magsimula si Franz Fanon na aralin to, he only had few essays na nakapublish sa isang magazine which is the Psyche. Naisip niya na sumulat kay Manoni to ask about the conclusions na siyang nag-lead kay Fanon to investigate further. So later on, Fanon found out that Manoni gathered his reflections in a forthcoming book which is now published, The Prospero and Caliban, Psychology of Colonization. Before going into details, sinabi ni Fanon na yung analytic thought ni Manoni is honest. Manoni has managed to achieve a grasp sa psychological phenomena ng colonized and decolonizer. Pero masyado siyang exhaustive. Sabi ni Fanon, kahit na devoted yung 225 pages sa study ng colonial situation, Manoni has not understand its real coordinates. Sabi rin ni Fanon, when approaching a problem in colonial situation, it is important as that of taking inventory sa mga possibilities for understanding between two different people. Also, one should be doubly careful. Manoni's study proposes to to prove the impossibility of explaining man outside the limits of his capacity to accept or deny the given situation. Kaya naman ang problema raw sa colonialism ay hindi lang yung interrelations ng objective historical conditions but also the human attitude toward these conditions. Franz Fanon subscribed to the work of to the part of Manoni's work that tends to present the pathology of the conflict ng colonialism, which is yung white colonial daw ay motivated lang by the desire to put an end sa feeling of unsatisfaction on the level of the Adlerian overcompensation. Nag-overcompensate sila because, they cannot deal with the feelings of being inferior. That's the conflict. They are on the level of Adlerian overcompensation. Tapos ginagamit nila yon as defense mechanism para ma-cope yung feelings of inferiority. At the same time, though Fanon subscribed to some work of Manoni, He also opposed when he read a sentence like this. The fact that when an adult Malagasy is isolated in a different environment, he can become susceptible to the classical type of inferiority complex goes almost beyond doubt that the germ of the complex was latent in him from childhood. Sabi ni Fanon na this one feels turned upside down and yung objectivity ng author is nate-threaten na maglilid siya into error. Next slide. Kaya naman tinry ni Fanon na i-retrace yung line of orientation ni Manoni. And with that, sinabi niya na the central idea is that the confrontation of civilized and primitive men creates a special situation, which is the colonial situation, and brings about the emergence of a mass of illusions and misunderstandings that only a psychological analysis can place and define. That is the fundamental theme of Manoni's book, where he points out that the colonial situation was created by civilized and primitive men. Dito rin daw nagsimula yung emergence ng mass illusions and misunderstandings na madedefine lang through the psychological analysis. Manoni tries here to make the inferiority complex something that antedates colonization. Pero bakit? Psychiatry says na there are latent forms of psychosis that become overt as the result of traumatic experience. Psychosis is a serious mental illness characterized by defective or lost contact with reality, often with hallucinations or delusions. Another one, in somatic medicine naman, working conditions are only a complicating factor. Inferiority does not arise because of spending 10 hours a day for work, but rather it arises dahil sa constitutional weakness. Working conditions are only serve as complicating factor of inferiority. Next slide. Bago i-detalye ni Fanon yung conclusions ni Manoni, he stated this principle. A given society is racist or it is not, until all the evidence is available. A great number of problems will have to be put aside. Tulad na lang ng statements, for example, the north of France is more racist than the south. Yung racism na nagaganap is because of underlings at walang involved na ruling class. That France is the least racist countries in the world are product of men incapable of straight thinking. All of this must put aside and makikita natin mamaya kung wala ba talagang involved na ruling class sa racist structure ng Europe. In order to show that racism does not reflect an economic situation, Manoni reminds us that in South Africa, white laborers are quite as racialist as the employers and managers and very often a good deal more so. So, salungat dito si Fanon, sabi niya, those who take it on themselves to describe colonialism, remember one thing. Ito yon. It is utopian to try to ascertain in what ways one kind of inhuman behavior differs from another kind of inhuman behavior. And with that, hindi raw ba naisip ni Manoni na para sa mga Jew, walang pagkakaiba yung pagiging anti-Semitism ng Mauras at ng Goebbels. There is a presentation sa North Africa, yung play ni Sartre na The Respectful Prostitute. Dun sa play na yon, hinaras ng 4 white men yung prostitute, tapos dinefend siya ng 2 black men. Sa pag-defend na yon ng 2 black men, napatay ng isang white man yung isang black man. Ngayon, para ma-justify para masabing acceptable yung pagpatay ng white man sa isang black, gustong palabasin ng white na ni-rape ng isang black yung prostitute. Yun nga, para masabing acceptable yung ginawa niyang pagpatay sa isang black. Sabi ni Fanon, subjective experience can be understood by others ano, pwedeng maintindihan yun tulad na lang nga dito sa play ni Sartre. Dito kasi, pinakita yung racism na naganap sa pagitan ng white and black. Yun yung subjective experience pwedeng maintindihan ng iba. Kasi doon sa play, marirealize ng audience na yung white man ang nag-instigate ng attack pa, pero it is in the interest of the law to preserve the perception of the white person at the expense of the black. Yun yung problema ni Fanon, yung pagiging racist ng white. He made it a point he made it a point to convey the misery of the black man. Unlike Manoni, Fanon did not wish to be objective here. Uh, Manoni believes na yung contempt of the poor whites of South Africa sa negro ay nothing to do with the economic factors. Yung mentality ni Manoni na to, tinawag ni Fanon na anti-Semitism dahil magiging snobbery siya sa mga poor man. Bakit? Kasi uh, yung rich, mag-exploit siya sa passion na to for own use kesa i-abandon nila yung sarili nila dito. Kaya pinopoint out dito ni Fanon na yung aggression ng white proletariat sa black proletariat ang nagre-result ng economic structure ng South Africa. South Africa is a boiler into which 13 million blacks are clubbed and penned in by 2.5 million whites. Kaya may racist structure yung South Africa. Next slide. Next is negrophilism and philanthropy are pejoratives in South Africa. Negrophilism and philanthropy here is nagpo-propose ng separation ng natives from Europeans territorially, economically, and on the political level. Pero bakit siya naging pejoratives? Sa separation kasi na pinopropose nito, dependent pa rin yung negros sa white dahil inaalaw lang sila dito na mag-build ng own civilizations pero under pa rin to sa guidance and authority ng mga whites. At dahil sa guidance and authority ng whites, yung mawawala yung economic competition. Tapos mapupunta sa poor whites yung groundwork. So dahil doon, lalong nagiging complicated yung racialisms na ultimo yung South Africans, aayawan nila yung pagiging black nila dahil yung negrophilism and philanthropy na to is nagpe-prevent lang ng pagbaba pa ng level ng poor whites at hindi para sa kapakanan talaga ng mga negro. Dagdag pa ni Manoni, colonial exploitation is not the same as other kinds of racialism. But sabi ni Fanon, all forms of exploitation resemble one another and they all seek the source of their necessity in some edict of a biblical nature. And all of those are identical dahil ina-apply yun against the same object which is the man. Walang pinagkaiba yung colonial racism sa ibang form ng racism, just like the anti-Semitism and Nazism na gawa ng Nazi Party. European